Hello again. Hope that's not too boring of a shot. Let's see. Got my phone on this edge of this rock. That's okay. Um. So hi again. Welcome. We're in the forest, and I have this instrument with me, and talking about mental recovery, and then kind of playing a bit in between. And for me, it feels good. So then I'm just kind of recording it as part of my process. And if it adds some interest to the video, good. I really enjoy recognizing the silence which permeates all existence, but resides behind or beneath or even within and between all sound. It's a meditation, and it's a nice meditation because it requires some training of the brain to focus attention, so that's good for mental recovery. But it's also just a fascinating unpeeling of the environment, the auditory environment around us, of which we may otherwise be largely ignorant of because we have filtered it out. But to recognize the silence that is there, which is almost the cradle of all sound. But anyways, it's the background. It's that apart from which sound arises and makes itself known and heard. And in tuning into the silence, it's amazing the cacophony of noise which rises to the surface. You know what a Tibetan singing bowl is? It's like a brass bowl that you hold in your hand without cupping it so that you allow it to vibrate and resonate with the energy of this little wooden dowel that you're pushing around the outside. Sometimes it's wrapped in a piece of leather or felt or material, but you're basically, you don't, many times you hit the thing first and then push that vibration around, but you don't need to. You can simply apply some even pressure around the outside of the bell, the piece of metal, and it begins to vibrate and really like hum. And the ringing that comes from that, it's neat, it's resonating the metal of the bell, and that is giving off a frequency, emitting energy and sound wavelengths. The sound is like, I'm picturing it as I play this instrument and talking about the silence behind or beneath which, or the ground of silence upon which all sound emerges. It's like the sound just peels right off the front of those vibrations somehow. Like it is at the crown or the crest of the wave. Of course, it's just a mental image, and it's somehow not that. It's just how we express the image of a wave, but space is similar. So we're sitting in the forest. You look around, you see the space between the trees, and it's the trees which are the things, but the space between the things is just like this gorgeous reflection of it's like the well, it's the negative space of the beautiful aesthetic of wherever you are, hopefully in nature. And the forest is so beautiful in the negative space that is between the moving, or sometimes still, but in the wind, moving dynamic branches. And it's just this, it's the space in which all things happen. A bit of wisdom that I got, and I'll share where it's from at some point. It just seems to distract from the story right now, but that in the space between all things, that there's a space between all things. Between all two things there's a space, and it is within that space that everything happens. And the space between the things is where consciousness is, and action and life blooms and moves and interacts and lives and dies and erupts and conflates and burns and exhausts and moves and evolves. Anyways, space and negative space, the space that is not the things, the silence from which sound arises. And I would add to that, for my meditative enjoyment, the contemplation of gravity, and how gravity, as you sit wherever you are, lie in bed, sit on a chair or on the ground, on a boulder, on some moss, as I am right now, and you feel your weight and sort of the stone or the chair or the bed pushing up against you, and you pushing against it, and that is gravity, and that is your force, working on the material upon which you are resting. And that same force is felt by every single thing around you that you can see as we're on this planet. And that is a shared invisible experience that you may not otherwise put attention to, but if you do, that can, like, for me, it's almost like zap. It connects me to the interior of all things present in my environment. We share this experience of gravity, this counterforce against our posture. It is the force that sort of dictates the architecture of our posture. It is against gravity that we have evolved our forms, whatever they are, whatever we are, plants, animals, fungi like me. There's a joke I didn't make in another video, but yeah, it's an amazing thing to witness. So silence and space and gravity. and they're very impersonal, and it's very sort of an objective observation. It's non-emotional. It can be rather cerebral or academic, but it can also enable, through those sort of rational, cerebral, academic portals of thought or observation, a transcendence into something which is more difficult to define, and thereby can lead us a bit further into the mysteries of being by sheer scientific witness, if you will, and thereby, I think, enter into a lot more potential for healing and growth. I think it's important to recognize rational scientific method and simultaneously allow for that which may not be quantifiable or measurable, or otherwise applied to the scientific method. And to even be willing to embrace such unfathomable, ununderstandable, yet witnessable, somehow observable or experienced phenomena. But it's important when we do and we don't understand it to recognize that we don't understand it. We can recognize, yep, it exists, there it is, okay, sure. But, if we start to reach for stories that make sense out of it, that aren't necessarily, that you couldn't apply the scientific method to, let's say, then we need to couch them just like that. Still okay, they're fine, but it's not the same as something we'd build a bridge to. All right, that's enough rambling. We're at 12 minutes. See you later, everybody. Be well. Keep on growing. Okay, thanks. Bye.